Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. So, I want you to imagine this scenario. You've done literally everything right. You pay your bills on time, you keep your debts super low, and you've worked incredibly hard to build up this flawless 800 plus credit score. You are basically the picture of financial responsibility. So, you finally decide it's time to apply for that premium travel rewards credit card you've been eyeing. You confidently hit submit, totally expecting an instant congratulations screen. But instead, boom, our little stick man friend on screen here just gets slammed with a massive red denied stamp. You're probably just left staring at your screen, completely baffled, thinking, wait, no way, how does a perfect credit score get me a flat out rejection? Well, you might have just stumbled right into the hidden authorized user trap. And today, we're going to unpack exactly what this trap is, why it is secretly ruining your credit card approvals, and most importantly, exactly how you can escape it. I mean, it is just incredibly frustrating, right? A perfect credit score really feels like it should be a golden ticket. But the truth is, it's just not enough to guarantee approval for those top-tier cards anymore. Take the Chase Sapphire Reserve, for example. It's one of the absolute most coveted travel cards out there. We're talking lounge access, amazing travel credits, huge point bonuses, the whole shebang. But Chase, just like a lot of the major banks, doesn't just look at that shiny three-digit number on your credit report. They are looking closely at your velocity. Basically, how fast are you accumulating new lines of credit? And if you don't know the secret behind-the-scenes rules they use to measure that velocity, well, your 800 score means absolutely nothing to their system. And this brings us to the unseen obstacle. You see, when you hit apply, a real human being isn't actually looking at your flawless payment history. Instead, this invisible, automated algorithmic barrier is scanning your application in milliseconds. And if you happen to trip its wires, it trashes your application before a human agent even knows you exist. It's kind of like a digital bouncer at the most exclusive club in town. And let me tell you, this bouncer has a very specific, highly guarded checklist. Enter the absolute central villain of our story, the elusive Chase 524 rule. Now, Chase has never officially published this policy on their website, but years of crowdsourced data from the Points and Miles community have proven that it is absolutely real. Here is the rule, plain and simple. The system will automatically decline your application if you have opened 5 or more personal credit cards across all banks in the past 24 months. And let me repeat that. Across all banks. So if you open, say, an Amex, a Citi card, a Capital One card, and 2 random store cards at the mall, that's 5. Chase will instantly deny you for any of their cards, and they won't care how much money you make or how flawless your credit score is. So the absolute most crucial point here is this number, 24. This is a rolling 24-month window. The clock starts the exact month you open an account. If you hit that 5-card limit, you are completely locked out of the Chase ecosystem. You literally aren't safe to apply again until the first day of the 25th month after your oldest of those 5 cards was opened. It requires some serious strategic patience. But hey, to play the game, you really need to know exactly what the referee is counting, right? So let's break down exactly what adds to that 5-card limit. Over on the counting side, we have personal credit cards from any issuer whatsoever. We've also got retail store cards, especially the ones you can use outside of that specific store. And here's a huge, sneaky trap. Closed cards. Yup. If you opened a card 12 months ago and decided to close it 11 months ago, it still counts. The algorithm literally only cares about the opening date. Now, looking at the right side, the does not count column. Mortgages, auto loans, student loans, you can safely ignore those. They don't count. But the golden loophole here, most business credit cards. Because banks like Amex, Chase, and Citi generally don't report business cards to your personal credit report, the 524 algorithm literally cannot even see them. It's a real game changer. All right, section 1, the authorized user trap. Let's get into the hidden pitfall. So this trap secretly trips up even the most careful, spreadsheet-loving points maximizers out there. You might be counting your personal card applications perfectly, staying at a super safe 4 out of 24, but then denied. Why? Well, because you forgot about a card that isn't even truly yours. Let's look at the difference between a primary cardholder and an authorized user. The primary cardholder is the person who actually applied for the card, right? They are legally and financially on the hook for paying that debt. But let's say your spouse or maybe your parent adds you to their account as an authorized user just so you can share some benefits or have a card for emergencies. You aren't responsible for the bill. You didn't even submit an application. But guess what? That account gets instantly pasted onto your personal credit report as a newly opened credit card. And the 524 algorithm, it treats it exactly the same as if you went out and opened it yourself. So just by being added to someone else's card, you get pushed right over that 524 limit and completely locked out of your own approvals. And honestly, this just brilliantly illustrates the cruel irony of the whole situation. Payment history makes up a massive 35% of your total credit score. Being an authorized user on an account that has a perfect long-standing payment history is actually a classic strategy to boost your score. And it works beautifully for your FICO number. But while it's inflating that 800 score, it is simultaneously springing the 524 trap and locking you out of those sweet Chase approvals. You basically traded your application eligibility for a quick score boost. Moving on to Section 2, escaping the 524 trap and restoring your eligibility. Okay, so if you're sitting there right now realizing, oh man, I am totally stuck in this authorized user pitfall, don't stress, there's a clear escape plan. The algorithm is rigid, for sure, but it can be bypassed if you know the right steps. Here is the exact 3-step strategy to formally yank that authorized user account off your credit report and get back in the game. Step 1, you gotta ask the primary cardholder to call their bank and officially remove you as an authorized user. Step 2 is honestly just an exercise in patience. You have to wait about 1 to 2 billing cycles for the bank to actually report this change to the credit bureaus. And finally, step 3, check your credit report using any free tool. If that account is still lingering there like a ghost, you need to file a formal dispute with Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion to have it fully deleted. Once it's completely gone, your 524 count drops and you are totally free to apply again. Which brings us to Section 3, the reconsideration line strategy, the manual bypass. But hey, what if you don't have months to sit around and wait? What if there's this incredibly massive limited time welcome offer on the Sapphire Reserve right now, and waiting for the credit bureaus to update means you're going to miss it entirely? Well, if you get automatically denied by the computer algorithm specifically because authorized user cards pushed you over the limit, you have to trigger a manual review. You basically have to bypass the robot and plead your case to a real, live human being. And thankfully, Chase has a specific department just for this, called the reconsideration line. Now, you need to burn this number into your memory. 30. You only have a strict 30-day window after your denial to call that reconsideration line. If you wait until day 31, the application is officially dead and you'll have to reapply from scratch, which means taking another hard pull on your credit report. So if you get denied, you need to pick up the phone immediately. And when that human agent picks up, you've got to be prepared. Here are the exact talking points you want to use on the phone. First, just politely ask them to review your recent denial. Then, clearly state that some of the recently opened accounts on your credit report are just authorized user accounts. Clarify explicitly, this is super important, that you are not financially responsible for that debt. The primary cardholder is. Finally, politely ask the agent if they can manually exclude those specific accounts from their 524 calculation. Because humans actually have the power to override that strict algorithm. If your math is right, the agent can manually approve your card right there on the phone. It is literally a lifesaver. All right, Section 4, keeping your score pristine with the AZO method. Now, think about it. If you are going to force a manual review, it means a real, highly trained human underwriter is going to be scrutinizing your credit profile with a magnifying glass. You need to make sure your report looks absolutely flawless. To do that, we use a slightly more advanced credit optimization technique called the AZO method, which stands for all zero except one. Remember how we mentioned earlier that payment history is 35% of your score? Well, your credit utilization, which is how much of your available credit you are actively using at any given time, makes up another massive 30% of your score. To completely optimize this for the human underwriter, you want to pay every single one of your credit card balances down to exactly $0, except for one single card. On that one card, you leave a tiny, tiny balance, somewhere between 1% and 9% of its total limit. This basically proves to the algorithm that, hey, you are actively using your credit, but you are incredibly responsible with it. But wait, here is the absolute secret to making AZEO actually work. The biggest mistake people make, by far, is paying off their cards on the payment due date. If you wait until the due date, it is literally too late. Banks actually report your balances to the credit bureaus on your statement closing date, which is usually weeks before your bill is actually due. So, to execute AZEO effectively, you must log into your app or hop on your computer and pay those balances down before the statement closes. That is the only way to guarantee a low utilization ratio is what actually gets cemented onto your credit report. So after seeing how all of this works behind the scenes, you kind of have to ask yourself, are you accidentally locked out of the best travel cards right now? It is definitely time to go pull your credit report, manually count up your personal card openings over the last 24 months, and crucially, check for any of those authorized user accounts that might be secretly sabotaging your velocity. Knowledge is absolutely power in the credit card game, and now you've got the exact blueprint to beat the algorithm. So what is your real 524 number? Go find out, and I'll see you in the next explainer.